Awesome.
All right. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hello. How is everyone doing?
All good, all good. It's been half an year since we started.
Does this work with mine? No, I think I turned everything off because I'm a
Yeah.
paranoid. But
No, yeah. It's
no,
done.
yours is not working as well.
Mine was still enabled.
Yeah. Let's wait a little bit more so people can join. I think last week we did in a weird time, right? So we didn't got a lot of people, but we got like 200 or 150, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was hard to
That it
schedule.
was late your night and early my morning, something like that.
Yeah. Well, we were like many hours apart.
Yeah.
Uh,
18 hours? No, 16 hours difference.
16, yes. Well, that's closer than Buenos Aires because in
Yeah.
Buenos Aires it's 12, so it was
It's
only
modulus
8.
2023. No, how you say in English model? No, mod,
Mod,
right? Mod.
say modulo 24.
24, yes. Okay, let's wait. I think we have, yeah, almost 100 people. I'm still, I wouldn't say they was surprised, but we have a lot of following in terms of the alignment stream. And it started like a complete experiment of let's see how long we can do this, and it's already the 27th session. So it's more than half an year, right, Dio?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we have been doing this for more than half a year. It's kind of a lot.
Yeah.
You are finally achieving the dream of becoming a streamer, per se.
Yes, but you will be. I'm gonna say something most people will not get, but I think it will be more like Momo from Argentina, the streamer, the guy who gets angry with his viewers. I think you will be like the kind of guy who trolls his viewers and fights with
I'm
them.
Argentinian and I don't know him, so if you are listening to this, don't worry. I have no.
No, yeah, Momo is very crazy. Very funny, but very crazy. He's the guy who always say he's Italian, but he's Argentinian. He's like a version if Fran would have been a streamer, but he was born in the slums.
Okay.
Anyways, people will not get it. But if there's someone from Argentina in the stream, I think they will understand and it will be very funny. And I'm in Asia, and today in the street I saw I was walking in the street and I saw an Argentinian girl doing like a live TikTok thing, shouting, and I realized she was Argentina because of the accent, but it was very random. Uh, I, I cannot believe I came across an Argentinian in the street and she was. So I was in an Argentinian live stream in the background basically for a second.
Probably all the people around were looking like, what the hell is going on with this girl
Yeah,
shouting?
she was talking about this thing that is popular now, le bubu, la bubu. What's it called?
Labubu.
Yeah, she was
No,
talking
I,
about.
not, I don't understand the appeal of the Labubus, but maybe we can leave
No,
that
I
for
don't get
another
that.
stream.
We'll save it for another podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We have more on one from. Yeah, I think we can start now. Okay, everyone. Thank you for joining again. We had a first couple of 6 minutes of talking about random shit. So I know everyone wants to be here for our usual updates. So we'll start with that, and then we'll talk more about the Diego's and Mauro's trip to SF. They went to a Google CK and AI, I think is the name, CK and AI event in Google's headquarters. It's the second time they do it, but this time they added the buzzword AI. Last year was just CK. Um, and Mauro and one of our engineers went there last year, and this time Diego had the chance to go. So they will be speaking out what they saw there, what are some interesting things I was thinking in general, and Ethereum. And I think you guys share a lot in Twitter the last couple of days, some stuff you saw, and I know that Mauro wants to do a rant after after he came with from the event with wanting to do a blog and explain some stuff that he saw and learned that he doesn't agree with, or he thinks people should take more into account. So maybe Mauro, at the end of the stream, you can explain a little bit more. And and yes, that's it. We're going to try to make things a little shorter for the next couple of weeks because I'm traveling a lot and I have a very big time difference with the guys. So I need to sleep at some point, and we have a very kind of busy couple of weeks and month incoming. So Mauro, do you want to start with the usual engineering update?
Yeah. The rant might be longer, but I can summarize it at the end.
No, I think
Uh,
for the run in the end,
ah,
extend everything you need because I think it's good if we can clip it for the future. This is the behind the scenes of how we create content in Align from now
okay.
on.
We will tell people that it is stand-up comedy, and then when they come, we teach them about VMs. Anyways, uh, on the engineering updates, so the lines of works are still very similar. The Of course, the team in Itrax keeps adding features and is getting more polished. Uh, we are shipping some optimizations to the fast mode on the batcher. We already shipped some things that should improve reliability. You might not see them now, but they are important. We can go into the details if you want, but I think it may be a little bit too much. Um, then CK Arcade. CK Arcade is done, but we are now iterating with some new features that I'm not sure if you want to talk about or say, or if they are going to be a surprise for everyone.
No, I
Um,
think some of the yeah. Let's. I'm not sure exactly
no,
what you mean. So for just in case, don't mention them, and then we can like if it's the UX stuff, yes, go ahead.
yes, UX has improved a lot. I'm quite satisfied. Like there were some missing flows that are now complete. It's looking good. We were shocking that it's actually easier to use Align through our application than through other places, but it's natural because it's actually an user-facing application. Um, Yeah, that's it pretty much.
Yeah. For the details, people will be able to see later the engineering update if they want to read it. And in the and if someone wants to see the demo, the latest demo of CK Arcade, I shared a tweet today this morning um, with a kind of long video, but it shows the full flow. And yeah, we will have probably a new demo in a few days after we have a new iteration of CK Arcade done. Uh, that we will test more internally, and we're sharing with some friends so we can get feedback from it. The idea is to make it as easy as possible, and yeah, people being able to play it without having to read too much, just copy and pasting and
Yep.
being able to access it.
I shared the link in the comments for anybody who's watching the stream and would like to see RJ's post with the demo.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. All right, guys. Do you want to talk about your trip? Who wants to start?
Yeah, I think I can start with that. First, San Francisco was like really cold. The coldest winter in my life has been summer in San Francisco so far. Um, but leaving that aside, the talks at Google CK and AI Summit were really good. I think that there was a very good combination of technical talks, some were a bit more high level, but in general, it was interesting to get like different points of view, or in some cases, some possible like integrations between AI and ZK. So, of course, one of the main dishes was related to Google's wallet being able to prove things about you in zero knowledge. And this is something that will start to be used in several countries. Um, so it's interesting that they developed all their proof system from some ideas in Ligero and other things. And it's working really well. There were also like several identity protocols talking, giving like different like solutions or ideas. Um, this is very good in the sense that uh, research keeps going on and we get newer and faster protocols. Um, this also, of course, bears some relation to our partnership with Sobra, but it was good to be able to talk and see the different problems some of these solutions are facing currently. So Google Wallet and all this took like some time, and identity was one of the important things during the talks. Another very important talk that we had was a keynote on ZKVMs by Justin Drake. Really, a lot of people were really excited about the fact that we now have real-time proving, even though using maybe 100 GPUs. Now they said that we are down to 36 or something. Dan Bonnet even talked about this, and he said he couldn't believe that this had happened like so early. And this is all because we've had like so many advances on uh, proof systems, working maybe with the subject protocol, having very good lookup arguments, developing a reasonable CKVMs, and of course working a lot with GPUs. Um, and he gave like some of the requirements that we would expect for this to actually help Ethereum, because it is important that we get enough decentralization, and for that we would need like some users to be able to do real-time proving from their homes. So there were like some requirements related to uh, power, and also like the number of GPUs and everything. Of course, some of these are related. But I don't know. I am confident that in the coming years or next year, we will have greatly reduced that number. Of course, we are not getting maybe um, the improvements we were getting like a few years ago, but this was a question that also appeared in some of the talks, and they asked Dan Bonnet, do you think that we'd reach somehow a plateau or something, or where will the future improvements come from? I think that still maybe in protocols we can get a bit better. Of course, maybe not 100x, but we can get like a bit more also from hardware acceleration. In fact, another important news during the summit was that Jolt had gotten like way faster, and now they were developing maybe a streaming prover to be able to prove computations with minimal memory requirements. So that would be huge. Of course, the problem with Jolt is that right now they still depend on elliptic curves for commitments. They were using Tori, but as far as we learned, they are trying to transition to hash-based proof systems, which was another important topic. There was a very good talk by Giacomo Penzi, telling a little bit more of the story, the principles behind hash-based proof systems, and recent developments in Where that in the case of Where, it's one of the candidates for the proof system for the aggregation of post-quantum secure signatures. So these are like some of the ideas. Obviously, ZKVMs featured extensively, though some people maybe said things that pissed off Mauro, and so he wants now to rant a lot about that. I am more of the opinion of Mauro, yeah. But we can continue after that. So those were like some of the talks that were like really interesting. We also had like a closing chat with Dan Bonnet and ZK versus TEs, and how you develop like sometimes cryptographic protocols. And well, in fact, people in general or cryptographers sometimes prefer like working with the more robust assumptions, try to make something as secure as possible, and then try to improve it by making it faster. And in some cases, what they do is, well, we need to solve this. We try to do with perhaps different assumptions that are not so battle tested, but this gets the job done. And eventually people at some point will see whether those assumptions were like reasonable. So one aspect that perhaps delayed the development of ZK for a long time was that cryptographers were not so comfortable with the random oracle model. But eventually everything now, at least in ZK, depends on that. So I think that the assumption has become a more robust or reliable one. And it's interesting that there have been these shifts in cryptography.
Amazing. Guys, what do you think is like the main general takeaway from this event, in terms of where is CK today and what regarding the public? I think it's also important the type of people that go to these events. That's also good information.
Yeah,
Like,
in this
you mentioned like a lot of people who we already know, like Justin Drake, Dan Bonnet. But who else was there? What was the profile of people, so people can understand who is attending to this thing?
well, in this case, I think that on the one hand, you had a lot of like researchers and engineers in ZK from very well-known projects. We also had people from Cardano coming over. Cardano was also trying to develop their own proof system based on lattices, for example. So that shows that everybody, I think, is starting to see that ZK is important for their protocol. There were also like some talks about the BitVM, which is the attempt to add ZK to Bitcoin. That way you can get L2s and do a lot of DeFi things on top of Bitcoin. So the idea that we got is obviously a lot of blockchains are starting to see, okay, ZK is a big thing, we need it. And also we saw a lot of things related to identity, and many like countries or projects are trying to build solutions for this. Google, with their Google Wallet, was already working on this. I think that the first versions were to allow you to prove that you are, for example, above 18 years old in zero knowledge. But then there were other interesting applications because, for example, people said that, okay, imagine that every time that you have to do like some online procedure, paperwork, or whatever, you have to go take a picture of your ID, upload it, then do some things to the camera and all that. It's kind of cumbersome. And I think the guys from Ligero showed like some interesting applications on that side related to KYC. So one part, research and engineers from ZK, like from very well-known protocols and projects. We also had a lot of people coming from AI that maybe were like less familiar with ZK, and people from Google that wanted to learn. Maybe they didn't have a background on cryptography, but still they were like very um, interested in learning. And I think that then I don't remember if there was like a third kind of group. I didn't see like many VCs, but this was mostly technical. Um, and the AI part was also like very interesting, um, because there were like two parts in AI. One part was related to, okay, how can we use ZK to prove the inference of a machine learning model or the training? And there were like some techniques to try to simplify things. There were like some talks by Google. One was um, related to founding ZK proofs of training on optimum vicinity. So they try to approximate the correctness of the training near the optimal point. It was perhaps more like a toy model or a proof of concept, but it looked like really interesting. And then there was a section that was mostly on some things related to AI. There were like some very good talks by Google DeepMind. Mainly, okay, are we there in the agent economy, games and markets, and some things about why we haven't reached the agentic era yet, or agentic economy. And I think that's something that was really interesting from those talks, was that they were subscribing to one of Ilya Sutskever's views that essentially data is like the fossil fuel for AI. So we have one internet, we train AI with an internet, and then we are done. We don't have more data. So it was interesting because they were like using different agents to interact between them, and using like some ideas from game theory and everything. They try to generate like some data, because every agent tried to maximize some metric, and then they started competing between each other, and then that started like generating additional data. So it was interesting that they were trying to generate very high quality data for further training. So that was, I think, another important point. You see that they are trying to perhaps build different models or try to generate new data to continue like improving. Maybe they said you cannot improve the model in every aspect, but you can make it better by doing this. But this is very long. It takes a very long time to achieve this, and so you cannot create like agents that are like good overall. but they can be very good at specific tasks.
Okay, so they actually okay. Do you know they actually spend also a lot of time in AI in the event?
Yeah. And in fact, this reminds me that this prediction by Eric Schmidt saying that AI, in the end, what it needs is just
Energy.
computation and energy. And as long as you can provide more and more, eventually it will start generating even more data and add like new capacities. And perhaps in areas where you have like a finite set of symbols and rules, like math, it perhaps it can get like really good, and we will see perhaps the rise of very powerful AI in math and in computer science, and then perhaps who knows which other areas. But already, if it starts with math and computer science, it could be like really massive. Of course, I think that models are not there yet, but the problem or the thing is, as long as you get power and computation, it is likely that at some point you will get there. I don't know, perhaps you have a different take there.
No, I agree. Um, I think we have been speaking behind the scenes about some of this stuff for the last couple of months. Um, it looks like, man, I think it's a matter of time. That's why that's why we like CK. If that's the case, you need to protect everything with this, and we need different tools, right? So I think that's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
It will happen. So what I what I what it was interesting about that video you're mentioning about Eric Smith is that he mentions that for problems or for universes where things are closed and very well defined, is going to be easier for this to start to being way better than human beings. That it might not be the case for other type of problems where the open is more where the problem is more open or things are not that well defined. Um, so we'll see. Maybe in the end, uh, business is the only thing an AI agent cannot do, uh, because humans are not that deterministic. I don't know.
Yeah. And just a few other talks that I found like interesting that I haven't mentioned before. There was a nice talk by Vanishri from Pharma
Mm.
about privacy and good UX, how you can generate like proofs efficiently when they depend on some secret witness that you don't want or you cannot share, and how you can somehow distribute like proof generation without like giving all your data to somebody else or prevent like parties from colluding. It was really interesting because we had this tension between having good privacy features and user experience, because then you cannot like freely delegate things. So I think that was a really good one. There was another very good take that in some cases we can get improvements in ZKVMs by having more efficient arithmetizations.
Mm.
The problem is that right now we have to somehow emulate some constraints which would be very easy to express in over other fields. And so they were saying, okay, if we could like have better arithmetization and reduce the number of constraints to, I don't know, half, that would already be something huge for ZKVMs. Still, I think this is a bit complicated. I don't know if we'll ever get there. And there was another very interesting talk about high-speed cryptographer by Omar from Ingoyama. I think this was also like really nice, showing like some use cases of Icicle, but also showing that in some cases they were performing better than NVIDIA's library. but well, we also like heard that NVIDIA has now special instructions, for example, for building Merkle trees, and I think that it's just a matter of time before other CK primitives start like getting specific instructions in GPUs or having a dedicated library for that.
Yeah, and with normal CPUs, not with GPUs, with CPUs that happened in the past. Like when some of the basic stuff of cryptography started to get more widely adopted, they added specific instructions.
Yeah. And something that you perhaps are going to like a lot is X 402 and internet native payments. This was something that Google and Coinbase were working together. Uh, and all the problem with paywalls or doing like payments on chain or on the internet, it was like really, really interesting too. Then some other things that were interesting was, of course, maybe using AI to audit smart contracts or find vulnerabilities. We also know that some people are also using AI for finding vulnerabilities. I think this is like really cool, and this is going to be one of the use cases for AI. And then yeah, there were like other talks. There were like several on identity and all that, and there was a panel on ZKVMs. Uh, and well, there we think that we still have to make like some comments on what they
Let,
treated and
this is
everything.
the cue. This is the cue for Mauro's rant. Is that's what you're saying?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay,
It's
Before
Mauro.
been waiting for that.
Yeah,
I have a quick question before the rant and opinions on ZKVMs that we all want to hear. I'm curious. So, from Google's perspective, their reason for putting on this event, like, how would you describe that? I mean, are they really pushing these kind of identity products that they have? Are they trying to sell other services, or is this more just like a, thought leadership conference to try to get more people talking about ZK? That's good for the whole industry. Like, I'm curious.
I think it's a mix of the three things. Google, I think, realized that ZK uh, can solve many UX problems, make things smoother, and provide guarantees that other things cannot provide. And they've been working, of course, in the wallet. There are like some um, that there is some ongoing work on legislation on, for example, in the European Union, and we, at least coming from Argentina and other countries, we know that some things related to identity don't work as smoothly as one would like. I think it's always like a pain to be able to have to take your physical identity, uh, scan it, upload it from one side the other. It's like that is to say, we have very fast things. Why can't I have things in a cell phone, in an enclave, and then when I want to do something, okay, I show this. It's even more secure because I can choose what information to disclose, and I don't have to give all my identity. In fact, I think if you start looking for, I don't know, the identity documents for a lot of people, they are already in the dark web and everything. So I don't know, it would be like some great progress. And yeah, I think also they have Google Cloud that's been working with several projects to provide them infrastructure and people like hiring CPUs or GPUs or whatever to do things. So I think it's a combination, but they for sure know that this is a groundbreaking technology and that they should play a big part on it.
Interesting. Thank you.
I could add something. Like I don't think like seeing Google as a monolith is the right approach here. At least that's what I got from the last for the last in the last event last year. Is like there are people who want to push different things at Google. What it seems to me is there is a group that realizes the utility of CK, what you can do with it. In fact, like a year ago, like the wallet was non-existent, but the people who are pushing for CK were still there. There is, of course, like a problem of resource allocation. Like for me, it seems that it's the people who want to push CK, showing, hey, this is useful. We need more funding. We need to keep working there. We can use it to deliver products. Now they have results because they have the wallet and they have more tech. So I think like they have proven that they are building real things. They will probably get more attention from the leadership. I'm not sure who takes the decision on how to distribute the resources of such a big company, but yeah, that might be
Probably an AI agent.
In the future maybe. Right now, they are not that smart. Like they would probably crash the company.
They would turn it into a digital asset treasury company.
Yeah, because if they're trained with the internet, most companies fail. So
yeah, you might end up having like a manager saying, "Hey, you know what we should be doing at Google? Drop shipping. Like that's the thing that that's the business to get money."
But yeah, so Mauro, some things were said about ZKVMs that made you feel an urge to talk about them.
No, that is a combination of things on the discussion of ZKVM. Like leaving us, there might be some things which in which I disagreed with some people, but it comes to the detail. There is a thing that was that Dambonet, I think it was Dambonet, correct me if I'm wrong, Diego, who said that he was asked like what was the right approach to cryptography if we go through the approach of like having very formal statement that we can be very sure that they work, or if we should instead go with a more pragmatical approach that is more related to the random oracle model and maybe some hypotheses or conjectures that we use in proving systems. The guy, he said like, well, they are both valid approaches and I like both of them, and they all have their moment, and they are both useful and we need both of them. The discussion of ZKVMs to me seems like a bit on the extremes of things. Like people go and say a lot of things that they are right in theory, but they might not matter or might not be the only variables. I can say a couple of simple things. For example, one statement that is very common is compiler circuits are more efficient than ZKVMs and they are faster, and that's the truth. That's the truth. That's correct. In the best case, the VM will be as fast as the circuit, and that's assuming that the circuit is very optimized, right? And it's not doing anything wrong and it's correct. But the reality is it doesn't matter. Like that's not enough information for taking any decision. Like if I tell you, you can probably write any software that we have faster in assembly. Like don't use C, don't use Python, don't use CUDA. like just write assembly and you will get things faster. That's also true. Like, and you will say, yeah, probably if you have a lot of time and your amount of resources are infinite, and you have years and you don't have competition, build everything in assembly and you might be faster. Yes, okay, but that's not practical. The second question is like, okay, but how much faster? Because maybe it matters. Like if you are 100 times faster, now you might consider like doing something like that. But for that kind of things, you need to measure, you need numbers, and then you take decisions. Then there is the matter that it's not even that extreme, because in concrete applications, like you can use a VM and drop to specific circuits when you need it, so the equations change a bit. The overhead of the VM gets reduced. In a way, it's like, for me, like the real traditional computer engineering, where we use assembly in computer engineering in software. Like we use it, for example, most of the cryptography that your machine runs has optimized operations for cryptography. But we are not coding in assembly all the time. Only for very specific things, when we know that we need to optimize something that is going to be used a lot, we do it. Because it has a lot of issues. So that's one of the takes. The other thing I think is totally missing from the discussion is the amount of, I have only talking about the amount of work to build the circuits, but that's like 1/5 of the work that you have to do to actually do a prover, because then you need to generate the trace. This is something that I was talking a little bit with Shorty, that actually generating the trace in an efficient manner shows, for the record, when you're proving, you first need to have something to prove. That something is the witness of the trace, or the trace, or whatever. There are many names. And when your prover starts going really, really fast, your trace generation starts bottlenecking the process. And when you have something very standardized like a VM, it's very easy to optimize that trace generation. When your witness is something that is totally arbitrary, it's very hard to optimize that. We were talking that there are people working to add repeated circuits, like precompiles to zircon. That might take a bit, but it can be done, and you have there your repeated circuits and maybe some communication mechanisms. Usually we call them buses, so you have different processors and they transfer information between each other. But then the problem that we were discussing is, okay, like we can do that, but there is no way to generalize the generation of the witness in an efficient manner. For each circuit, you will have to do your own generation of the witness. Okay, yes, now, once again, in theory, you can do that, but bear in mind that that's going to be more work for the team, more engineering work, and every piece that you have to code, it adds complexity, it adds time, and it introduces the possibility of security bugs. And security bugs happens all the time. 3 months ago, like, we were hacking succeed SP1, and we could prove whatever we wanted. That's something that will get polished with time. It's normal. It can happen. But if you're always proving most of the same VM, as time goes on, like, bugs will get found and they will disappear. If you're writing a circuit for everything, well, you need to be very careful, very, very careful. Like, if your circuit is small, it's good, but if you try to do something very complex, it's impossible. And I saw some people, in particular from Google, a bit surprised that, for example, we don't have ZKVMs anymore. You might remember, like 2 years ago, 1 year ago, probably 6 months ago, I don't remember when ZK removed the ZKVM, but ZKVMs were widely used. in theory, once again, you can build a ZKVM that is faster than a general ZKVM, right? You're telling me, okay, I have a processor that the only things that it does is the operation of Ethereum, and I have one that is RISC 5. Of course, like the one that is very specific should go faster. Maybe. Yes, if we have infinite resources, infinite engineering, and we have years to work on each. In practice, it's much easier to optimize the simpler VM than to optimize the other one. So yeah, my run is this. It's like we cannot throw those statements that are true, not measure, don't think how to deliver things. This is engineering. Like allocation of resources is extremely important. We don't live in an infinite world where we can do everything. Like we need to think on timelines. Like we need to deliver in some time. It's not the same to deliver in 3 years and in one. Uh, you need numbers. It's not the same to be 3 times slower, and I need just 3 machines, than to be 100 times slower. Uh, you might take different decisions depending on which scenario you are. Um, it's not the same thing like to have very complex code bases that very simple ones that can be easily audited. Um, yeah, I will try to write this down, but um, this is the key of my rant. I'm not telling you you shouldn't do circuits. I don't want to tell people you shouldn't be doing this or you shouldn't be doing general purpose CKVMs, or you shouldn't be doing like this more Cairo like CK optimized VMs. It's just showing like, okay, there are many variables. It's not just like one statement that this is better because it is faster. Uh, there are many variables. One has to analyze them all, and then make a decision, like thinking in everything from the product, from the security, the size of the teams, like how much time do we get, like what are the risks. Everything is important because this is engineering. This is how things work. That's a rant. And I hopefully will have some time to write it down.
If not, we can get the transcript. You can get the transcript, Mauro, and put it on ChatGPT and see if you can get the blog.
I also I'm writing it down because I also want to show some numbers. And
Yeah, yeah.
not
I
do
think it
it
will.
on the air.
I think it will be
Like,
very interesting.
and they are simple equations. Like this is uh, mostly Amdahl's law and things very simple like computer engineering from the 60s. Nothing fancy. Very simple math. Just to think in the things that we have to deliver. Like then we can discuss like how things work. Um, but first, like understand the parts and the complexity that we need to handle.
And I think it's really good. A really good idea. Thank you for explaining it. I think these type of insights are the things that are super valuable because not a lot of people have been around in the industry as long as you and Diego, and especially have worked with many of the different type of pro systems. So you encounter many of these things in different places. So I think that's because it's many of these things that you mentioned, Mauro. I remember you have been talking about it with Diego and Fede for a while, and many like all of these things and this framework of thinking of not just what's ideal but what's practical and how you implement things in order to get to the most optimized solution is something that is not talked a lot about in the industry. Um,
Yeah, in fact, we were like very early supporters of the Cairo VM and
yeah,
Starks.
hash-based proof systems.
I remember getting a bit bullied by people saying, but elliptic curves are way better and all that. Why Starks? And
No, and,
I,
and I remember I'm not gonna say names, but there's a particular VM that said they were going to be able to be one of the most performant without hash-based systems, and apparently they are moving to hash-based, from what you told me. and
Yeah,
we had, yeah, you guys had heated debates with them in the past.
yeah, yeah.
That is, uh, I don't want to be like the most tanky hash based guy. Like the we look with some check and the protocols of lookup tables. There seems to be the possibility to have some efficient things. They are not going to be quantum secure. Like if we need Justin said, like I will summarize a little bit of the conversation with Justin. Sorry that this might be a little bit longer, but just for everyone to have
Which
some context.
Justin, Mauro?
Um, Drake,
Okay.
yeah, no, not Tyler. So in this
Why
case,
don't
it's
you be sure?
confusing because like it could be any of them. Anyways, so the idea for the future of Ethereum is to have, for example, 5 proofs running, uh, advanced state with 3 proofs. Like let's say when there are 3 proofs that have reached the conclusion that this is valid, all the nodes like executes a verification on these 3 proofs and it moves forward. uh, and all of the systems of Ethereum are going to be quantum secure, right? There are some discussion. There are people who say like, "Oh, quantum computers will come very soon." Some they will say like they will come after I die, and some people have made a show like maybe it's because they are old people. Uh, but until Theo mentioned that joke.
Or they don't follow Brian Johnson's advice.
Maybe.
Maybe you
Uh,
shouldn't follow all of his advice, anyways. But
so I suppose I'm not in the discussion, but we probably don't want most of the VMs to not be quantum secure. Maybe there is room for one, but I wouldn't push a lot of them. Um, of course, like right now, like it's not like SP1 is quantum secure anyways, for example, but they can change very fast. Like if the core of your architecture is already two ways on elliptic curves, you cannot do anything. Uh, so the fact that they are not quantum secure, even though like they might be efficient, like might tilt the balance a little bit on. Okay, maybe it's good for redundancy, but we don't want all the VMs to look like this. Uh, okay, well, it's already a bit late, but we can continue talking. There are more things that we might need redundancy, or another thing is architectures, the computer architecture. Right now, like put some weird exploit on the compiler of RISC-V that nobody, I'm not sure how many people are looking at it. Um, if Ethereum dependent on that is kaput, like it's the end of Ethereum, and they are going to be hard to find because like the VMs makes assumptions that they might not do anything on the real CPU, but only in the VM. So that is another talk. Okay, like not only you have to have redundancy on the proving system, but you don't want to use all of them to use RX5. You are dependent on the same compiler. That might be a problem. Uh, so hopefully we'll get a very diversified set of VMs in the future with different architectures, different security assumptions, and that will make Ethereum more robust. So let's see where all these research go, and hopefully we get not only one proving system that is very efficient, but many of them,
Yeah,
so we can build more resilient products.
yeah. I will add that related to this, Justin Drake mentioned the idea that we could have something like multi-proving in Ethereum. That is to say, you would get maybe 3 or 5 different proofs using like different clients and different like provers with different architectures. And if, for example, 3 proofs are valid from different like VMs and everything, this is a valid thing, and you think it's very unlikely that you had like correlated bugs in all the VMs and all the clients. And there was also a very interesting discussion on how to ensure that we have like a decent speed. And there he introduced the idea of coupling the fastest execution client with the slowest VM. So, and then the second fastest with the second slowest, and so on and so forth, so that more or less all proofs would reach at the same time. So that was interesting. It's also interesting because, well, Ethrex currently I think has gotten like way faster. And so let's see if this happens, to which VM it will be coupled to when they want to generate the proofs and everything. But this was really interesting because you have redundancy at the client level, but now you also want to have like some kind of redundancy at the ZKVM level.
Diego and Mauro, was this something that Justin Drake was talking about in his presentation at the Google ZK and AI event?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because he presented this at the last ETH proofs call that I was at. The sort of like L1 ZK EVM roadmap, coupling the fastest prover with the yeah.
Supposedly he's recycling.
Yeah, but it's interesting that they have a pretty nice roadmap, and yeah, like a lot of people are familiar with in Ethereum, the importance of client diversity, or robustness and censorship resistance and security. The same idea applies to provers and ZKVMs as ZK is used across Ethereum's stack. So there's also some stuff about post-quantum security and hash-based systems and the size of these proofs that I covered in the ZK News on Friday. This paper by Giacomo Fenzi and I think Yuan Zhang, you guys mentioned earlier.
He's amazing guy.
Yeah.
I was talking with him and I didn't realize he was the one, the Giacomo.
Yeah.
Very cool guy.
Yeah. So lots of interesting stuff.
Right.
Another thing, like let's leave it for the next talk because this is getting a little bit long, and I think a lot of things happen in the summit. But even as Diego said that Google is working in identity and CK and that kind of things, their approach is not related to blockchain. Like if you see Sopra and you see like the solutions they have for identity, they are attacking different problems. They don't even have a blockchain. They don't care about that. They make big proofs and they send it to a big server, whatever.
Because the devices they have are are small and they need privacy, so it's completely different.
They are caring about privacy. We, for example, care more about immutability. CK with a blockchain doesn't solve that kind of things. Then again, like you are the blockchain and you start having more privacy issues, like it's harder to make private data if you have a chain. So they are trade-offs, but we can leave that for the next call if you are interested, as to not delay this forever.
Yeah.
The interesting thing, Mauro, is we make a blog about that. We can explain that a line can be a big chunky verifier.
Oh, it's like
if you need big computers on your verifiers, a line can still be that and still be verifiable. We can talk about that on another episode. Okay. I think almost an hour, and I said we wanted to make it shorter, this one, but I think we had a lot of stuff that we could mention. Hopefully, the rant and all of these things were useful for our marketing team for creating the content and clips. So thank you everyone that joined here. Well, 384 people is a lot. And yeah, we'll see you next week.
I have one quick plug. Yeah, definitely stay tuned for articles and blog posts around the stuff that Mauro and Diego were sharing today, because I think there's a lot that we want to expand on. But Wednesday, I will be hosting Diego on the Wednesday Aligned guest stream to talk about the history of ZK and just general trends and the technologies that are making everything possible today. That's sort of like driving this adoption and Ethereum's new roadmap. So get excited for that. If you have if you have cryptography questions, we'll be here with the chat open. So
It's alignception. Like,
yeah.
align, inviting align.
That was going to happen one day.
Yeah. So okay, that's all for me.
Bye.
Thanks
Bye,
a lot.
everyone. Thanks for
Let's
listening
see.
to us, and see you next
See
week.
you.
Bye bye.